Bienvenidas todas to the Activated Latina. First of all, congratulations on being here. Yes, one of the things you're going to learn today is that you can absolutely reach any goal you have in mind, but it requires managing yourself and consistent practice. So that's what you're here to do. You're here to learn and to practice, right? To be with a community of women who are going to hold space for you, to practice the mindset, the way of being, the new places you need to go within yourself to actually reach your goal. So if you made it a priority to be here, yay, you're already winning against your brain who's trying to stop you. You're already winning. And that alone is such a huge, huge benefit. So congratulations to all of you for that. Beautiful. How to create the most amount of value for yourself today. Create. You notice I use the word create, right? You're not coming to get something. And this might be the first thing you notice that's different about how I coach versus maybe other coaches or consultants you might have worked with, or maybe even therapists or other healing modalities. You're not coming here to get anything from me. You're coming here to co-create something with me and with the other women in this container. So if you can stay the entire day, stay from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. because the training is meant to build on itself. It's meant to take step one, where we're going to learn about clarity and build into calmness and then build into confidence. That's what we're doing today. So if you can stay the entire day, that's the first thing I'm going to presence with you is stay from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I'm also going to do live coaching the last hour or so, maybe 40 minutes, where I actually want to see your goal, your plan, what you're working towards. We're going to do processes. We're going to do 3 or 4 processes today with your goal. So one of the things that I want you to walk away with is a real understanding of what it's going to take to hit your goal, an actual understanding of what it's going to take to hit your goal. I want you to build a relationship with it, with your goal. Yes. Okay. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a break probably from 12 noon to 12:45, somewhere around there. These are all Pacific Standard times, by the way, guys. 12 noon to 12:45. It's not going to be exact, but in a couple of hours, we'll take a break. So if you need to, pick somebody up, eat lunch, if you have to walk your dog, if you need to move your body, there's going to be opportunities to do all of that. We're also going to have breakout rooms, and we're going to have times where I give you a process, like a question that you're going to ask yourself. So what I want you to do now is I want you to choose one goal that you want to achieve in Q2. One goal that you're going to use during our time together to work towards. Yeah. A couple of things to keep in mind on a goal. It needs to be measurable. So we can't have a goal like, I want to feel joy every day in Q2. You can, but then I'm going to ask you, how are you going to measure that? How are you going to measure feeling joy on a regular basis, for example, right? Measurable goals, sometimes called SMART goals, have a number usually attached to them that allows us then to measure that. And if you're here right now and you're like, what is a goal I want to hit in Q2? I just want you to notice. I just want you to notice that Q2 started in April and you're not sure of what your goal is, right? Yeah. Maybe you have a goal for the year, or maybe you have a goal for the next 6 months. I hope you do. If you don't have a goal for the end of the month or for this year, and you're here to gain clarity and discover that goal, yay. And I want you to write down in your journal right now that you don't have a clear goal. That's okay. I'm going to help you discover one. And one of your takeaways right now that I want to give you, that's a golden nugget to all of this, is that you get to develop a relationship where you are intentionally setting goals, a relationship with yourself where you are intentionally setting goals all the time. That just gets to be an automatic for you. All right, we're going over how you can create the most amount of value for yourself today in the Activated Latina. Stay the whole day. We are going to take a lunch break. Choose one goal that you want to achieve in Q2, and it needs to be measurable and time bound. And by time bound, I mean in Q2, right? Q2 is April, May, June. So by the end of June, the last day of June, by the end of June, I will have achieved whatever it is. This could be a business goal. This could be a life goal. This could be a health goal, whatever is important to you. Because what you're going to realize is that they're all about the same. Your goal is really about your relationship with yourself. It's really about managing yourself on that journey. And, certain goals require certain strategies more than others. If you have a business goal, for example, because I'm a business coach, I can probably support you with strategy around that. But don't worry. We are not searching for more information. You have enough information. You're not actually here to gain more information. You're here to learn how to integrate that information into your life so that you actually achieve the goal, right? We're living in the information era, guys. There's tons of information out there, right? AI will give us all the information. And yet, I will still be in business 10 years from now because what I can do is so different from what AI does. It's transformation. Okay, you're going to choose one goal. Next, journal. I want you to use a journal during our time together. So if you don't have a journal right now, go grab one. It can be like pieces of paper. It doesn't have to be, that serious of a journal. But if you have like a favorite journal, this is one I got from Reverend Michael at Agape. If you have a favorite journal, you want to use that journal during our time together. I'm going to give you questions to answer. We're going to do processes. We're going to do breakout rooms. So if you have a journal you can use, please use your favorite journal and take notes during the processes. Okay, next, ask for coaching, ask for feedback, and participate at 100%. That means during times when I say, okay, who has questions? Raise your hand. Ask the question. Check in with yourself in terms of like your intuition and what is something that is stirring up for you. If there's a challenge, if there's something that you can feel in your body, even just sharing that. Like, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. That's participation. I want you to participate at full speed. We are co-creating this. This is not Wendy has all the answers and I'm coming to get the answers. I have a lot of answers, but the reason you're attracted to me isn't because of what's in here in my knowledge. It's because of my practice and integration of this work over time. I'm going to repeat that again. I have a lot of knowledge, but the reason you're attracted to me isn't the knowledge, isn't the information, because you could read, I could give you 5 books to go read if you just wanted information. Chances are you wouldn't finish them all. The reason you're attracted to me is because of the integration of that information into my day-to-day life. It's really who I'm being, okay? That's why you're attracted to me. Okay, the last, be committed. The last request I have of you to create the most amount of value for yourself. Be committed in your way of being. This last one is a little bit tricky because you might be like, what is she talking about in terms of way of being? I have already taught many of you about way of being work. That's something that you're going to learn today is way of being work, which I think is going to be really powerful for those of you that don't know it yet. Raise your hand if you know what I mean by be committed in your way of being. Like if that registers for you, raise your hand so I can see who you are, because that means you already know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm just taking a little bit of a survey of the room so I can see how many of you are brand new to being work. We're going to cover it. And how many of you are like, oh no, I'm already living this. I get that everything starts with your way of being. Okay, beautiful. So we're going to start with the first process, which is be committed, right? My last request on that list. Please write in the chat, committed. If you are committed in your way of being to the work we're going to do today. If you are committed to the work you're going to do today, please write in the chat, committed. And you're going to start to feel the distinction of when you move yourself from, I'm just here to participate, to I'm here, committed, right? And what gets activated in you. You can start to feel a distinction between the activation, the inner part of you that is activated when you are actually moving into commitment. Let's go. What is being work? Dun, dun, dun. Neuro-emotional coaching. That is the type of coaching that I do. which falls under, so being work falls under neuro-emotional coaching. What is it and why do you need it now? How does it tie into neuroscience? How does it tie into quantum physics? And what are the 5 ways of being that we're going to talk about today and that we're going to use in our exercises moving forward, right? Okay, let's talk a little bit about neuro-emotional coaching. I'm going to stop the share. What do you guys think is neuro-emotional coaching? And maybe what's its distinction from other types of coaching? Who wants to raise your hand? This is the participation part. Remember, committed? A second ago, you all said you were committed. What is neuro-emotional coaching? Marta, brave Marta Gonzalez. Let's give Marta a round of applause. Hi, Marta.
Hi, Wendy. What comes to mind is has to do with the brain. So we are doing something with our brain and our emotions. So you're coaching us about our brain and our emotions?
Yes, yes. So way of being work that is a type of neuro-emotional coaching, okay? Neuro, because it does have to do with the brain. It has to do with neuroscience and the way the brain processes thoughts and the way the brain is set up as the system in our lives. So the coaching we do in being work is absolutely scientifically proven, science in the brain and science in quantum physics, okay? So I want you to know that when I talk about being work, it's not just the woo-woo spiritual stuff, it's also science-backed and proven through studies in science. In fact, we're going to talk about one of those studies right now. One of the valuable aspects of neuro-emotional coaching is the creation of new neural pathways. Being work opens up new ways of thinking. It actually asks you the question, for example, what is the thought that you need to have in order to hit your goal? What is a thought that would support you in you thinking this thought more often? What would support you in reaching your goal? What is a thought that would support you if you thought it often in reaching your goal? That's a question. You can feel, even when you ask yourself that question, it's like, oh, right? Let me think. What is the thought I would need to think to hit my goal? In that moment, literally what we've done is we've started to create a new neural pathway, which is called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is literally the building of your brain, scientifically, the building of the muscles in your brain. Really powerful, really powerful. But it's not just about the neurons in our brain and neuroplasticity and mirror neurons. You might know what mirror neurons are. Somebody write mirror, mirror, like mirando un espejo, mirror, mirror neurons and neuroplasticity. Somebody could write that in the chat. Those are 2 forms of neuro coaching, let's say brain coaching, right? That we do in being work. So there is a mindset component, but it's not just mindset. Mindset is one aspect of it. So people think I'm a mindset coach and what we're doing is mindset work. Yes, and yes, there's a mindset portion to it. And there's also an emotional component to it, right? Because you are not just your thoughts. You are not just your brain. In fact, if you thought mindset was enough, breakthrough opportunity. Mindset is not enough. Mindset alone is not going to get you to your goal. Because we're not just a human thinking machine, although some of you are really good at being human thinking machines. Some of you are living from your neck up. How do I know? Because I used to be like that. That's how I was successful for many years. That's how I, made it to I was the Southern California program director for the National Kidney Foundation. Whatever. And I had a master's degree. I still have a master's degree in urban planning from UCLA. How did I get to that version of Wendy? I was living from my shoulders up. I was very focused on here, right? on getting the degrees, getting the diplomas, being an expert in my thoughts, and knowledge. Yeah. Let me give you guys a forewarning. The day of having enough knowledge is over. Knowledge is available to us like this now. You can Google it, you can YouTube it, you can AI it. Yeah. So if you thought knowledge was enough, dun, 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 let this be your wake-up call that it is not enough. And it's becoming less and less relevant as we move into this future space. So on the other side of brain thought development is what you're experiencing in your body. Somatic work, your feelings, your emotions, right? Things like fear, doubt, also joy, love. Where are these all located? How often do we drop into our heart and allow ourselves to feel? Neuro-emotional coaching takes into account our emotions, our feelings. Yes. Which for some of us is really tough because we're not used to allowing ourselves to feel, or we feel too much. Like we go down the rabbit hole of feelings, right? We start to feel doubtful, and then that doubtful leads to, now I feel fearful, and then that fearful leads to hopelessness, and now I'm like, forget it, and then we get paralyzed, and then we don't move, and we don't take any action, or we take a little bit of action, but we hit a wall, right? Maybe we fail at something, and we go backwards. Yeah. So emotions can also be running you. Emotions can also be like a big issue in your way of being, right? It can be both. It can be your thoughts. It can be your feelings. That's why with being work, we work on 5 aspects to what is happening internally, what is happening in here and in here. And you'll always see me do these 2 things. By the way, I'm not doing like the sign of the cross or anything like that. I went to a first communion yesterday and I realized that every time I go like this, I think, yeah, I did grow up Catholic, but no, I don't consider myself Catholic now. And what I mean by this and this is thoughts and feelings, meaning we got to manage both and have a relationship with both, right? Yes. You're going to learn some things about what's happening here versus what's happening in here. Both are important. Some would even say this part of what's going on is more important because this is where your intuition lives. We're going to talk about that today. This is where you make decisions from. This is where your truth is. And many of you might have read the book, The Body Keeps Score, right? So the body knows things that the brain doesn't, or that the brain forgets, or that the brain puts into compartments, but the body doesn't forget. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the 5 ways of being. And then we're going to talk about why is this timely now. So since you guys, majority of the room raised your hand when I asked you, do you know what way of being means? What are the 5 aspects to your way of being? I'd love to hear from one person. We could start with one. We could start with one way of being. All right, Manuela put beliefs. Yes, Manuela, that's a great one. Yes, let's give Manuela a round of applause. I assume she's in a place where she can't go live on camera. Okay, beliefs, what you believe, especially what you believe about yourself, is really powerful. That is a foundational part of you that is making decisions for you every day and is affecting everything you do. Is affecting you in your business, you at work, in your career, you with your family, how much money you make, you and your health. All of that is centered around what you believe, right? Yeah. Feelings. Marta put feelings. Paloma put thoughts. I love it. Yes. Thoughts, feelings, beliefs. All super important. In fact, you'll notice a distinction between beliefs and thoughts and feelings, right? Thoughts and feelings are the first place we start with. What's the main thought I'm in most of the day? What am I thinking about most of the day? That's a powerful question to ask yourself. Because the only difference between you and me is that I have learned to pick my thoughts. So I pick powerful thoughts for myself every day. Like, what do I want to create today? Just that question alone, what do I want to create today, puts me in the driver's seat of my day. Right? That's my main thought most of the day, versus how am I going to make it through the day? Which some of you may be thinking, ¿verdad? How am I going to make it through today? That thoughts are powerful. Feelings. You can choose your feelings. You may not know that. Let me give you this piece of information. Your feelings are your choice. Okay, I'll pin myself for this. This is important. It takes about 90 seconds for a feeling to go from subconscious, meaning it's subconscious in your brain. It's like a trigger, right? For it to become fully conscious, where you are now aware that you're in this feeling. So for some of us, we get triggered by certain things that happen in life, right? I think I told the story in the last training I had. Somebody at a grocery store dropped a jar once right in front of me, and it scared it scared me. And I had a trigger response. I felt scared and immediately went into like protection mode with my kids and was like, what the fuck are you doing? I mean, I literally yelled at the guy. But it was like immediate, right? And then I realized, wait, it's okay. The noise is really what scared me. I noticed, right, as soon as I became aware that I was in that feeling, was that going to serve me? Did I need to be in that feeling? Was this person really trying to do something to me or my family? So then I calmed myself down and I chose to be in, well, calm. I chose calm in that moment. I said, okay. Took a deep breath, took a couple of deep breaths, and then said to the person, I'm so sorry. The noise scared me. That happens all day long, right? Somebody cuts us off on the freeway. We show up at work and something didn't go as planned. We get asked to do something last minute, something changes. Like stuff happens all the time for us, right? We watch the news and get triggered by that. How do you then manage your feeling? Once you become aware that this is the feeling tonality I'm in this feeling zone, this feeling is happening. When you need to acknowledge it, right? Acknowledge I'm in fear, I'm in frustration, I'm in anger, whatever the feeling is. And then you have a choice. Do you want to stay there? Or do you not? That's your choice every second of every day. Once you become aware. 60 to 90 seconds, guys, a minute, a little over a minute to become aware. And then it's your choice. By the way, when you're not triggered, it's also your choice. You control your feelings. You have agency over your feelings. You have agency over your life. And here's a little advanced coaching for those of you that are staying all day. This is something you're going to learn, is that the goal you have that you put earlier in the chat, you might have that goal because you're trying to elicit a feeling. If I hit this goal, then I will feel. But what you're saying right now, Wendy, is that I can choose my feelings now. Yes. But you don't have to hit that goal to feel that feeling. Okay, then why do I have the goal? Just something for you to sit in. All right. Thoughts, feelings, beliefs. A belief is a thought that has become a feeling in your body that you feel to be true. That's a belief, right? A belief is a thought that you feel to be true in your body. You can feel it. Like when you say the belief, you feel the alignment to yourself, right? Please put in the chat one belief that you have about yourself right now. One belief that you really feel this about yourself. Like it's a belief that you've incorporated into your whole life. It's just a part of who you are, right? You 100% believe this belief or whatever it is. Okay. I'm going to talk about the other two because there's 5 parts to your way of being, right? Thoughts, feelings, beliefs, intentions. You notice intentions are a little different also. They're like beliefs in that an intention is not just a thought, it's also a feeling, right? Your intention. This has to do with living an intentional life versus a default setting life. A default setting life is where you're just on autopilot. Some of you can spend 10, 15 years on autopilot. it takes a lot of work to get off the autopilot highway. In fact, most of us only get off, like me, because we have some sort of mental health crisis, or we have some reality check in life, or some sort of crisis. Sometimes it's a financial crisis. Sometimes it's a divorce. Sometimes it's a health thing. Sometimes it's a reality check. Like I had a mental health crisis in the nonprofit world where I was like, I am working way too hard for very little pay. And the worst thing is I went into nonprofit to make an impact, to like have some effect on the world. And I didn't feel like I was doing that. There's got to be another way. So for my own mental health, for my own sanity, I started searching for how do these other people function where they're making an impact, they're making money, and they seem to have more freedom. How is that happening? And in trying to solve my own challenges with anxiety, depression, feelings of uncertainty and fear, I learned a methodology, which is a big part of be, do, have, and who you're being. Okay, intentions, setting your intentions. Yeah, we did this earlier today. Did you notice? You set an intention. What intention did you set today? I didn't ask you what is your intention, but you set an intention. You set a way of being, right? Yeah, you committed. You committed. I'm committed to being here, or committed to participating 100%, committed to being in the dance with you, Wendy. Committed to co-creating this with me. That is an intention. That was you being proactive at the beginning of something, or before we've even started coming in by actually setting a goal and an intention. By setting your goal for Q2, you're also setting an intention. That's what a goal is. A goal is an intention. It's an intentionality. Yeah. Okay, then the fifth way of being. Yes, thank you, Manuela, who's like my scriber for the day, my scribe. The fifth way of being is your vibration. It's your frequency of vibration. It's when you look at like emotions having hertz, like it can actually be measured, right? Hertz is a unit of measurement. You can measure the vibrational feeling tonality of love. You can measure the vibrational feeling tonality of peace. Yeah. So I always include frequency of vibration because I tend to attract healers, Reiki practitioners, sound bath practitioners, breath coaches, all of that world. And you guys live in the world of frequency of vibration. Sometimes you don't even have the name for something, but you're in this like feeling into the world and this frequency, right, of calmness, or you're connected to a frequency of vibration. The question, what's the frequency I want to be in, is a really powerful frequency. Hold on one second, guys. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little message here that is not helpful. Being in a frequency of vibration, asking yourself, what is the frequency of vibration that I want to be in on a daily basis? Just being in the question of that is powerful, no matter what you're going to do for the day. It's also similar to what's my intention for the day, right? Yeah. A frequency of vibration lives more in our energy. It's also a choice. You can choose your frequency. And one of the things that I mentioned earlier, mirror neurons, is a neuroscience. It's something that's been studied in neuroscience that teaches us that our neurons, our brain, mirrors what we see in other people. So if you've ever noticed when somebody walks in the room and their energy is different, that it starts to shift the room, you may have felt this. Like you're in a room, somebody walks in, and all of a sudden the room got lighter or brighter, or sometimes the opposite. Somebody walks in, they haven't even said anything, but just their energy, right? The room got more serious or upsetting, or yeah, it's their energy. It's just the energy they're emanating from their being. Yeah. So it's important. Our neurons mirror other people's neurons. I can tell you that half of the people who pay me for coaching, the reason they're paying me for coaching is access to me. Just to be in the room where I look at you and you can feel what's coming up for me with you. And your neurons are going to start to mirror it. This is also sometimes why people stay in coaching for 3-4 years with me, because they're like, oh, I can feel it when I'm with you. I feel it, right? Now, my goal is that you learn to access that for yourself, but mirror neurons are really powerful, really powerful. Also why you should all be in rooms with millionaires. They think different. We think differently. Or in rooms with women who are building really big things. They think differently. They think much bigger than their own little family. We think much bigger. People who are living a purpose-driven life, we're just like plugged into something much bigger that you have access to too, by the way, 100%. And so when you're around people like us and you tell us your goals, we're like, oh yeah, done. And what else are you going to do? And you might be thinking, oh, my goal is huge. Like, that's scary. Like, no, you could totally reach that goal. We have such faith and connection because we get the possibility of what's available to you. Okay, so those are the 5 ways of being. If all you take away is a deeper connection and understanding to each of those, that will profoundly change your life. Here's the next question I have for you. You might have seen this on the deck on my last slide. Why is this, what I just shared with you, practicing the 5 ways of being, so important now, during this time in our planet, certainly in the United States, with what we see happening in the United States? Why is this so important and so vital? And actually, this is a big part of why I'm doing this training, guys, and why I'm doing it for free. Because I just felt the need, like the calling, I felt like a vibrational pull to be like, we have to have a conversation about this so that I can support you all in what do we do during this time? Why do you think this conversation is so timely for you and also what we see happening around us? Who wants to share? Don't all raise your hand at once. And for those of you that are off camera, if you can turn on your camera, that would be great. Miss Maria Lopez, Marta, Lupita, Heather, Jessica, Diana, Brenda Garcia, Monica. Oh yes, Manuela, yes. Let's have Miss Manuela share.
I think that the reason why it's important now is because it feels like there's so much out of our control and there's so much that's hurting us, or that we feel that we're feeling a lot of what's happening around us. So these 5 ways of being allow us to take control of what's within our control and help us to process it and interpret what's happening in a way that can support us and not continue to hurt us.
Yes, yes, yes. Manuela hit it right on the dot. Because when we're talking about being work and who you're being, who's in control of your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, your intentions, your frequency of vibration? Who? You, 100%. And so much right now feels like it's out of our control. So much about the policies that are being made, what's happening to our immigrant brothers and sisters. We're immigrants. What's happening to our parents, what's happening to us, the amount of fear in our community, right? What's happening to our planet. Not just that, diversity, inclusion spaces. I mean, so much, there's so much under attack, right? Public administration, so many institutions that are falling apart right in front of us, right in front of us, that it feels like so much is out of our control. And yet you still have control over your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, just that, day in and day out, right? What we're going to talk about next is why that is so important. Yes, education is under attack too, Amaida. Yes, thank you so much for bringing that up. Let me read what Jessica is sharing with us. Jessica, Diana, I'm going to read your share. Our rights as Latinas are being taken away. Yes, I also think as women. How is it that my 2 daughters, have less rights than I did growing up? That is still shocking to me. But our rights as Latinas are being taken away. We have to raise our vibration in order to support ourselves and support ourselves of what's about to be thrown at us. Yes, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to get better. I think it's going to get worse. So we are better resource and can be in our sovereignty. Yes, Jessica, Diana, this is exactly what I'm talking about, sovereignty. Having real sovereignty, which is available to each of you. Jessica, whenever you can speak, let me know, like give me a thumbs up that you can speak, because I'll ask you to share a little bit more of what's coming up for you. And then Paloma says, our comunidad is powerful. We are stronger together. What we create is a work of art. Oh, and I'm here for La Raza. Yes, Patricia, I love that. We are stronger. You know what's crazy is this being work. We, as women of color, are more connected to it because our ancestors, part of this being work, are right below our feet. Like we're literally on the same land with them, right? We don't have to travel far to visit the motherland. We just have to put our feet on earth, on literally dirt, right? That's it. To feel the frequency of what's coming in the earth. The earth has a frequency. If somebody wants to look this up, there is a frequency on the earth. So whoever knows it, please put it in the chat. This is attached to frequency work, right? What's the frequency of the earth? There is an actual number that the earth vibrates at. That would be cool to connect with or to know. Okay, we're gonna put this being work into this bigger picture. And I'm gonna teach you guys what absolutely changed my life in a really profound way. And why I've been able to create everything that I've been able to create. Okay, we talked about being work. We talked a little bit about neuroscience. We're gonna get more into the quantum physics next. Be, do, have. Be, do, have changed my whole perspective on life. I learned it at 25 years old in a training, kind of like a Tony Robbins training. I had an experience of it. I had an embodiment of it. And it flipped everything around for me in terms of what I thought, in terms of how I thought about reaching goals, okay? I'm gonna do a little experiment with you guys. I'll come back to this, by the way, and then we'll talk a little bit about how does this tie in with quantum physics and why is Wendy even talking about quantum physics? The reason I even bring up quantum physics is I want you to know this is proven in science now. And we can go from science and this part, right, of us that got the degrees and wants to be successful in this world of like success, we can solve it from that angle also. They're all tied together. Quantum physics, neuroscience, spirituality. Across the board, they all say the same thing. So we're going to get a little bit into that. But be, do, have. Here's the question I have for you. And I want you to notice what your brain does. Okay? I want you to think of your goal, your Q2 goal. That's the goal we're going to use today through all our exercises. Okay? Think of your Q2 goal. Now I'm going to ask you, how are you going to reach that goal? How do you plan on reaching that Q2 goal? I want you to write down in your journal what your brain told you or what came up. How are you going to reach your Q2 goal? If you still don't have a Q2 goal, please raise your hand. You can pick one right now. It needs to be measurable. By Q2, we mean April, May, June. So really, we just have May and June left. But by the end of June, something that you want to reach that's measurable. Not just I want to feel better in my body. Okay, how are we going to measure that? Or I want to make more money. Okay, what specifically? Do you have a number in mind, right? It's got to have a number, Andrew. All right, stop writing. Now I want you to notice what you wrote down. Is the first thing you wrote down a way of being? Or is the first thing you wrote down on how are you going to reach your goal an action step you're going to take to reach your goal? Most human brains will automatically go to an action step. Most human brains will automatically go to a doing. So I have a goal, right? Let's take somebody, let's use somebody as an example. Who wants to share their Q2 goal? You're gonna end up sharing your Q2 goal anyway, so. Who has a clear, measurable Q2 goal that you wanna share? Brenda, yay, okay. Hi, Brenda, it's so good. Brenda's an alumni of Inspired Action. Can we give her a round of applause for being here? She's also an amazing costume designer in Hollywood and will one day be receiving an Oscar.
Thank you, Wendy. I guess my Q2 goal now is to just I am I want to get agency represented. I want to accomplish that by the end of the summer. Like, I want to have an amazing agent. I want to have someone that also works with me, alongside me, to get more projects.
Okay, beautiful. Agency representation by, and if you're not using like end of June, then you can say like August 15th or something like that, right? Like just have a specific date. And anytime we do the processes today, keep that goal as agency representation by August 15th, something like that. Make sure you keep it that time bound goal. Yeah. Because it is important how we speak. Transformation happens in language and the way we speak to ourselves and the way we manage our brain, right? Okay. So that's your goal. Awesome. So when I asked you, how are you going to get there? What did your brain offer you?
It's automatically like starting to cold call agencies.
Right? It automatically went to a doing. Yeah. It automatically went to a doing, which is what the majority of brains will do. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it automatically goes to doing? I got to cold call agencies, which by the way, you probably do have to cold call agencies, right? This isn't like, that's not a wrong answer. That's just the first place the brain goes to. Why do you think that is?
I think like a form of control, like it makes me feel like I'm in control, I'm in the driver's seat.
Yeah. Yeah. The doing feels like more in control, right? Like you can control what you're going to do. Like, oh, I can pick up the phone and call or message agencies. Yeah, it feels a little bit more doable. Yes. Yes. We've been taught our whole lives that how we reach goals has to do with what we're doing, has to do with the strategy. Doing is important. Thank you, Brenda, for sharing. Doing is important. You do need strategy. And yes, Brenda does have to call agencies. What Be, Do, Have teaches us is that everything starts first with who you're being. Because if Brenda is in the belief, for example, this is never going to happen. I've been trying for years to get representation and it's never happened. Or a belief of no one's going to return my call. If she's in that belief, right? If that's her frequency of vibration, and then she goes to call the agencies, what do you guys think will happen? Well, Brenda, tell us, what do you think will happen if you're in that belief or in that frequency of vibration or that thought? What do you think will happen when you go to call your agency?
I mean, I'm not going to sound as confident as I could be. And to your point, I haven't taken this step before because I didn't feel like I had the tools before. And it just now so happens that now I feel much more prepared. So now I'm ready to make those calls.
Ah, so for a while, you felt like you didn't have the tools, right? Are the tools a way of being?
It is a way of being. It is definitely a way of being. I worked under a different costume designer and I was like, oh, I am more than overly qualified to do this job now, like to really take on bigger projects.
Nice, nice. And you discovered that because something outside of you showed you like, oh, you're actually more of an expert than you thought. And then you stepped into that way of being. Yeah, yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So now from this way of being, what's the belief that you get to be in before you go to make these calls?
I honestly, the belief is that I'm a very talented costume designer. So anyone would be lucky to have me, to represent me.
Yeah. Yes, Brenda. Okay, say it again. Say it like you believe it 100% right now.
I know I'm a very talented costume designer. I bring a different point of view and people would be happy and lucky to have me in their team.
Yes. Yes. Congratulations, Brenda. That's beautiful. Yes. One little thing I'm going to give you really quick coaching around is you want to make sure your belief statement is really short and sweet, like to the point. I'm a badass costume designer and anybody would be lucky to have me. Because the shorter it is, the more we feel it in our body and the less our brain overanalyzes. The longer the statement, the more our brain analyzes it and then allows it to go into, well, is that really true? Do I really feel that? Right? We start to question it. We just have to feel it. Feel it, be it, and then make the phone calls. Yeah. Yes. Congratulations. Let's give Miss Brenda a big round of applause for sharing her Q2 or summer goal with us. That's exciting. And now it's going to happen, girl, because you just said it to a group of powerful women. And we were all like, yeah, we 100% believe this is going to happen. You're going to get agency representation by August, whatever. So you have to let us know once you get whatever agent is going to work with you. Very exciting, very exciting. Okay, that was a live example of the power of be, do, have. Please know that the majority of the world is operating from do, have. Have is your goal. Have is the results. Have is the thing you want. In this case, in Brenda's case, the agency representation, right? Have is the number you're trying to reach in your finances or the health goal you have or whatever the thing is that you want to manifest. That is the have. The doing is action. You do actually have to take action, yes. And it does help to take strategic action towards your goal. But the action and the strategy is not the solution. The strategy is not the solution. In fact, you could probably ask AI for strategy and it'll give you pretty good strategy right now. But the B part, what's happening internally, not just thinking these thoughts, feeling them, believing them. Brenda being that version of her that's like, you're lucky to have me. Full alignment and integration into that way of being, and then taking a bunch of action. And then when people hang up on her, which may happen, I don't know if it's going to happen, but when people hang up on her, staying in that way of being, bringing herself back to that way of being. That's the name of the game. That's actually how we reach our goal. Yes, we create a strategy plan, and we're going to do some of that today. We're going to talk about doing. But I want you to put the doing in perspective. It's be, do, have. So the first thing you have to train your brain is to stop before you go after the goal and ask, who do I need to be in order to reach this goal? Who do I need to be in order to do what to reach this goal, right? That's the first place you go to. Why is this timely and how is this connected to quantum physics? Well, I should ask you guys, how do you guys think this is connected to quantum physics? This is a great conversation. What is quantum physics? Let's talk about that first. What is quantum physics? And then I will bring up how this is connected to it. Okay. Quantum physics, separate from, I think what people call like regular physics or classical physics, right? So regular physics, you might be familiar because you probably all took physics in high school, yeah? Physics is like, you know, I'm going to throw this pen and it's going to go across the room and down, right? Like we can measure, depending on the velocity of which I throw up the pen, where it will land, how far it will go. The laws of physics, the laws of physical matter. Quantum physics is the law of the things that make up physical matter, the building blocks of physical matter, protons, electrons, photons, leptons, like there's all these tons, right? They're these little building matters of the universe. So when you look into this pen, when you actually go in and look carefully at this pen, you realize there's a bunch of things moving. This pen isn't actually really physical, even though we see it here like a hard thing. The more powerfully you go in with a super microscope and you look in, you're going to see particles moving around. Then nothing is actually solid, right? In fact, the particles of my hand are shifting with the particles of this pen, meaning they're dancing together. There's actually an interaction happening. And the more you go in, the less separation you see from everything. Here's the crazy thing with quantum physics, and this has now been proven. Let me give you guys the name of the study, and you can go investigate it for yourself. Also, when we send you the recording of this, we'll include a link to the study. The study is called the double slit experiment. Somebody write it in the chat. Double slit, como like slit on a dress, S-L-I-T, double slit experiment. In fact, Adele, if you want to find the link to the experiment, you can put it in here. It's a very famous quantum physics experiment. Okay, what they discovered in this experiment is they looked at, so if I throw the pen, I can predict where it's going to land and where it's moving. If I go into the pen and I look at the tiny little particles of creation of the pen, and I try to predict where's one of those little particles going to land, when I look at that particle, it's standing still in one particular place that is a probability. But when I step out and I stop looking at that particular specific particle, that particle exists everywhere. It's everywhere in the universe. It's what's called a superposition. Superposition means it's everywhere. There isn't a particular position. That means it exists in all possibility, all probability, all possibility. It's only the moment that I look at it that it comes to this particular place, that it becomes local to a particular place. But the moment I let go and I'm just in full space, it can go anywhere. It's actually available to come into anywhere. Any possibility. It means everything in the universe. These are all the things that make up the matter that we see, the things that make up the physical things that we see, right? And chances are your goal, reaching your goal, has something to do with matter. You want to create something, bring something into existence. What you're really wanting to do is take something that is non-local, available everywhere, and make it local to this one position. Bring it, literally like calling it into this one place, you know, this one number for your business, or this one promotion for your career, or this one place that your business is now going to exist with a website and a bank account, and like physically making things real. What does that tell you about be, do, have? What does that tell you about possibility in the universe of what we can create and our ability to collapse things into reality, collapse things into locality? And this is scientifically proven, right? What does quantum physics have to do with me hitting my goal? These are the laws of quantum physics. What comes up for you guys when I share this? And why is it important for us to understand it? Who wants to share? Let's hear from somebody new. Omaira, Paloma, Monica, Victoria, or some of you off camera also, unless you're all reading the double slit experiment. And you're like, what the hell, man? How is this happening, right? How is all probabilities possible? All probabilities are possible. Yes, Ms. Victoria, thank you so much for sharing. I can try to unmute you if it doesn't allow you to unmute. Yes.
I think I
There
got
we
it. I started back in the trainings about dipping into that quantum physics, and that the association for me is that the realm of possibilities of what could be, and looking at something that not saying focus on just one way. That's been the biggest thing. That, oh, what the bleep movie has just been, I watch it over and over again because it just simplifies it. And it makes sense to me because I'm kind of in a science person in the science world. So it makes sense to me that of those possibilities that we're creating our world as we go along based on what we see and experience. Yeah.
That is it, Miss Victoria. That's exactly it. Guys, might blow your brain, but I'm going to tell you. It has been scientifically proven that you are creating your reality. You, it's not something outside of you, even though I physically see this pen and I think this pen is affecting me, even though I see this president of the United States and I think this president is affecting me, I am the one who is making everything around me happen. What? Because where I put my focus, calls it into reality. When I witness the particle, it comes into reality. So when I say I want there to be a pen, then it's a pen. It's just probabilities. We're way more powerful than we give ourselves credit. Way more powerful than we think we are. Life is not happening to us. We're not these people who are just being moved around. We are the being that's moving around the pieces. We're the observer of the whole thing, and not just the observer, the creator of the whole thing, through what we choose to observe, through where we put our energy, through what we believe, right? Science has now proven this. There is no separation. There is only what you choose to create with all possibility, probability. It's kind of like, oh, here's the universe. What would you like to do with it? This shifts our entire focus from, oh, woe is me, life is happening to me. But you don't understand, Wendy. I grew up in a really tough neighborhood. You don't understand. I grew up, with a single mom, or I'm a child of divorced parents, or I was abused, we could go on and on and on. Not that those realities don't have merit, of course. They're part of your story, part of your history. And you are happening to life. So what do you want to do with that? You are activating everything in your life. You're creating everything in your life. Yes, even your bank account, you created that. The relationship you're in, you created that. Your pet, you created that. You called that pet into your life. Like, that's all you. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. Yes. Why is it timely again that we're having this conversation now? Oh yes, who raised their hand? Omaida? Omaida, share, please. Unmute yourself. Yes.
I was going to say, to me, it comes around the cause and effect, right? The thinking, and, like somebody had said earlier, you decide what energy you flow for the day, right? And so I think of the cause and effect. And I love how you were telling Brenda of being concise, because we could go in our heads, right? And have this big old statement, and then we have room for little nicks and crannies to kind of come through. And those are our thoughts, right? And that's why I think of, like, okay, if this is my goal, I have to make sure that I'm assertive with it, because I'm telling the universe, I'm giving myself permission to be present. Like, I stand on business when I'm doing this, right? So I think of that cause and effect. So if I wake up and I'm like, well, hoy voy a estar jodida, then obviously, like, I may wake up with like, me duele esto, me duele lo otro, but if I go into that space of the day, like, me duele, guess what? It's going to keep on hurting. So I'm like, all right, I may feel like I'm waking up to like 90 years old, but yet I'm going to feel like I'm 15. Then I have to go into that mindset.
Yes. Yes. And that feeling 15, Omaida, is actually available to you. Like, that's part of what I want you guys to get from today. All possibilities. We're living in a very small little window of what we think is available to us. Like, it's a little tiny slither of what we think is available to us. There's 100 other possibilities, 1,000 other possibilities that are available to us always, that we haven't even thought of, right? So we think like, oh, but I haven't been able to reach that goal. I'm just gonna, never mind, forget it. Have you tried 100 different ways? Have you tried 200 different ways? Because we know it's be, do, have. So there is some doing, but who are you being? Because if you're being committed and you literally have the universe at your disposal, which might feel like too big of a thought. I get it. That's a little like, whoa, that's really powerful. We're going to do some processes today where you feel a little connected to that. You can find where's that energy in me? How do I connect with that energy in me, that universal energy? But it is in you. It's in all of us. And we can tap into it in a second. One of the most powerful things that I learned at a retreat many years ago. So my 7th wedding anniversary. I'll share this story and then we're going to go to clarity, which I know you're all here to get some support around clarity. Okay, 7 years ago, it was my 7th wedding anniversary. 7 is a magical number. I believe in the number of 7. So I told my husband we got to do a spiritual retreat. We were also trying to get pregnant with our second baby. We over manifested and got pregnant with twins. Anyways, if you want to listen to this story, go listen to my podcast episode on how I manifested twins. I over manifested a little bit. We went on a retreat for my 7th wedding anniversary to a center the Omni Center actually with Deepak Chopra. Do you guys know Deepak Chopra? Yeah, and Reverend Michael Beckwith, Agape, out of Agape. He's where I practice spirituality at. Amazing. I highly recommend Reverend Michael Beckwith. But anyways, we don't have to get into the spiritual. So we did a 3-day meditation retreat with Deepak Chopra, right? It was a small group of us. Anyways, one of the most powerful things I learned from that weekend was this, and I learned it from Deepak Chopra, that this quantum physics thing that we're talking about and energies like love, source energy, possibility exists not only in the things we see, because we see things like the pen in front of me, the hat I'm wearing, right? Your phone, like these are physical things that become, well, this is real because I can feel it, I can touch it. But you know what else is real? The space between you and everything else. So I take a moment right now and just look at the space in the room that you're in right now. The open space between you and the next physical thing. The amount of space between you and the thing. You know what that space is made up of? Source energy, possibility. All those particles that we were just talking about, the neurons, protons, electrons, photons that are moving around, that don't stop somewhere, that's where they're all at. Look at the amount of space in your life. Physical, open, blank space. Ooh. We tend to focus on the physical things we see, and there's so much more that we can tap into that we can't even see. So just knowing, oh yeah, source is all around me. This quantum field is all that. It's everything. I see a bunch of things, but it's also all the spaces, not only outside, but like in your cup, right? There's space in your cup. There's so much space. When you look at the amount of space around you and you start to think about it from this place of, oh, those are all possibilities of what I could create. Ooh, what's a feeling that opens up in you when you think of all the space around me are possibilities of what I could create? Possibilities of what I could create are possibilities of how the universe is going to support me. Quantum physics is going to support me in hitting my goal, in creating what I want to create. What's the feeling tonality that comes up for you? Please write it in the chat. Limitless, yes, Olga. Empowered, yes, Monica. Abundant, yes, Marta. Yes, yes. That is a way of being abundant, being limitless, being expansive, being open. Those are all ways of being. Imagine being tapped into that more often, right? This is the power of be, do, have. Why does it matter now more than ever? Because I want you to start thinking about the amount of support in the universe for whatever you want to create. That the universe is actually conspiring in your favor. There's a million probabilities that when you're looking at what's actual physical in your life, it's like 2% of what's available to you. This starts to expand the way in which you think. And when we expand the way in which we think, things like who the president is feel smaller, right? Because we realize, oh, we're so much bigger than this one circumstance. This is just a circumstance that I happen to be living with right now. It's an important circumstance, and I think we should do something about it, but not from a place of fear, right? Not from that way of being, because then we're going to end up getting overwhelmed, exhausted, tired. We get to do stuff from an expansive, abundant way of being. Okay, we're going to move to talk about clarity. Step 1 in our 3 C's for today that we're going to cover: clarity, calmness, and confidence. All right, this is a process for your journal. I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes to write these down in your journal, please. You can also share it here in the chat if you'd like. Step 1, what is your Q2 goal? It doesn't necessarily have to be your Q2 goal. So Q2 is April, May, June. I used Q2 because so many people told me Q1 was horrible, that we kind of wanted to redo. So it could be by the end of June, I'm going to achieve X, Y, Z. Or like Brenda said, by the end of the summer, but it has to be a specific time frame. You can't just say forever. right? I'd rather you use a specific date and time, like by August 15th by 5 p.m. Because the more strict we are with our brain, the more we're managing it, the more likely we are to hit the goal. So a time-bound goal that actually has a time frame on it, this is the locality thing that we were talking about, like all is possible, and then we bring it into the local, right? So you literally look at something. Part of bringing it into the local, meaning making it real here locally for you, is a time-bound goal. That is a specific time, date and time. Okay, it needs to be measurable. Who do you need to be? So this is question number 2. Who do you need to be to hit this goal? What is the thought you need to be in, the feeling you need to be in, the belief, the intention, and the vibration? I want you to answer each one of these 5. And then thirdly, I want you to run this goal through be, do, have. Come up with at least 3 do's to reach your goal. So who do I need to be means these 5 ways of being, right? You're going to put thought, feeling, belief, intention. What do I need to do? Please write the 3 do's, and then the have is your goal. I'm going to give you guys 9 minutes, maybe sooner, to complete it. Actually, 5 minutes. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to complete it. I'll keep it here. Does anybody have any questions about this? You're going to write it in your journal. If you want to write it here in the chat, that would be great too. But most important, in your journal. You're going to take your Q2 goal and you're going to write out, who do I need to be? And then what do I need to do? 3 do's, 3 actual action steps. The way Brenda said, I have to call the agencies or whatever, like 3 actual, doing this. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Raise your hand, virtual hand. If you have a question, you'll pop up for me. Or is anybody stuck on a goal? Okay. I'm going to give you 3 minutes until 11:25 PST. I'm going to mute myself while you do this. Really think about it. Really think about, what do I need to do that's going to lead to this goal? What do I need to believe in to reach this goal? Okay, guys, is everybody finished writing? Beautiful. Yes, or does anybody left with writing? I'm going to stop the share just to see if anybody has any questions on your beginning part of your action step. Yeah, were you able to answer the 5 ways of being? Which one was the most challenging for you out of all the 5 ways of being? Or who wants to share what was the most challenging for you out of those 5 ways of being? Anybody? Yeah, Marta? Okay.
Yeah, for me, one was easy to identify, the feeling, but and then I feel like they are all like the thought, the intention, the vibration, they are similar. So I didn't know how to answer the other ones.
Oh, yeah. So emotions and feelings and vibrations are very similar. Yeah. They feel the same because your emotions, your feelings and emotions have a vibration, right? Yeah. The only distinction between the two is how you enter. So some people can feel a vibration very quickly. In fact, they might even be able to feel a vibration before they can name an emotion. And then some people can name an emotion and then attach a vibration to the emotion, right? Or step fully into allowing yourself to feel the vibration of the emotion. So it's a somatic difference. People who live in vibrational energy, raise your hand if you're a person who lives in vibrational energy. Brenda, I love it. See all the creatives in the space. Shonda, right? Shonda's also an amazing Reiki healer, and right, you're a Reiki practitioner, right, Shonda? Yeah. Can you explain, Shonda, the difference between when you say an emotion and when you feel the vibration? Oh, and Jessica also, yes. Shonda, can you explain for you as a healer, how does it show up differently for you in your experience in your body, maybe?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So how do I feel it versus how do I?
Yeah. So what would be your distinction between feelings, emotions, and vibrations? Or how would you define them as slightly different?
Feeling and vibration. Oh my God, I don't know. The vibration is just, it's like a high for me. I guess that's how I would explain it. It's like and if, I guess if you've never drank or experienced a high, it would be like this out of body experience. It's like maybe if you're a mom and you see your child for the first time, it's that type of high. And a feeling would be this gut feeling. You know, you walk into a place or you meet somebody and you're attracted to them, or you just have this really bad vibe about them. That would be like a feeling for me, versus the vibration is this out of body experience. This, you know, like for me right now, my grandson is my out of body experience. There's no other love like it. So yes, that would be my definition.
Beautiful, Shonda. Let's give her a big round of applause for sharing from her heart. And congratulations on your grandson. Yes. Yes to that feeling. Yeah. Anybody else want to share how vibration versus feeling shows up for you? I love that Shonda shared about it's almost like a high. Like for a lot of healers, the vibration, when I talk about vibration, it is like an out of body. And the feeling is in your body, right? Yeah. Jessica, yes, if you can share and I'll explain a little bit also. But Jessica, if you could share. Jessica Diana.
Hi.
Hi.
For me, frequency is just the way that you're being in order to live in that expansion that you want to be in. So like the things you're doing, the spaces you're creating, things you're clearing, things you're bringing in. So you're kind of raising that elevation, that energy to call in. And then sometimes the feeling, like you said earlier, it could be there's so many different feelings, from everything from joy all the way to fear. So, but sometimes that feeling can also impact that within our frequency. So kind of bringing those up as well help you drive that energy and that frequency so you can do the thing.
Beautiful. Thank you for that explanation. So feeling certain feelings can help you shift your vibration. So feelings oftentimes is the entryway into shifting your vibrational tone. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yes. Yes. And I think Michelle, I think you had your hand up. Michelle, is there anything you want to share? I don't know where you went.
I'm right here. Sorry, my camera's off.
Yeah.
So for me, vibration would be like, I feel it's part of like the nervous system. So because the vibration is basically the intention that is either transmitted or that you're receiving. And that feeling would be the gut feeling that is telling you energetically what was that vibration, the intention, how the body interpreted. So the gut feeling would be memories that transpired through the past. And it's just like that feeling, how are we going to receive it, or how are we going to make the best out of it, or just protect our energy in our space.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much, Mrs. Shell. What I got from what you were explaining is there's an energy, right? And you can feel the vibration. And then that vibration of that experience or the energy can affect your feelings. Like, what did you feel based on that vibration? So that's where vibration starts first, because it's true. Everything is vibrating, guys. Everything. There is nothing that's 100% still. Everything has a bit of a vibration happening, right? We're all interconnected in this. We just found out, right? We're all in this blank space together. And there is actually no separation. Everything is just living in the quantum field. So this energy of vibration can happen first. You could actually feel the energy of the vibration and then be able to call out a feeling. Or for some of us, it's we feel a feeling, right? And then can dip into the vibration of that feeling. Yeah. They happen interchangeably. So one of the things I want you to learn with being work, and I know for some of you, this is like the 10th time you're hearing this, but I know something new is going to land for you. They don't need to happen in order. Okay. I know there are some schools of thought out there that are teaching that, first comes a thought, for example. Everything starts with a thought. So for my practice and my use of this work, that is not true. Everything doesn't always start from a thought. Sometimes we get an intuitive hit that is a feeling, and the thought comes after. Sometimes it's a frequency of vibration, like what Shonda explained. Like she probably walks into a room, she sees her grandson, and there's a vibration that happens before there's a thought, or then she can say, I'm in this feeling, and maybe then has a thought, and then she has a belief, right? So they don't have to happen in an order. They can all happen interchangeably. You can enter through any of these doors. There's 5 doors to the same room, being. 5 doors to the same room called who you're being. In fact, the question you will hear me ask is, who are you being? Who do you need to be? Who were you being such that you hit that goal? Who were you being such that you got that result? It's just going to be, who are you being? It's not going to be what's the thought, the feeling, and also, this is also the power of transformational work. Okay. I want you guys to really get this. And then we're going to go to clarity, deeper into clarity. I am not the person with all the answers. What I am is the person with the questions and the ability to hold the container for you to answer for yourself. You already have all the wisdom that you need to hit your goal. I know that. I have all the wisdom in me to hit my goal. My coach doesn't have the wisdom. What my coach is able to do is ask the question at the right time and then hold the space for me. The reason I bring this up is because when I ask you, who do you need to be? Some of you are going to hear that question completely differently. Some of you are going to hear that question as like, what is she talking about? What do you mean running to be? Some of you are going to hear it in a deep way in your body, in your gut, and then everything in between. Some of you are going to go to feelings, some of you are going to go to beliefs, some of you are going to go to thoughts, and some of you are going to have an out-of-body experience when I ask that question. You're like, running to be, oh my God, like you're going to feel this expansiveness. That matters more. Your individual answer matters more. This is 18 years of experience, guys. This is the truth that you'll get with somebody that's been practicing this work for years, okay? I don't have the answer to that question for you, but my ability to ask that question and then trust in what you say, that's the work. That's the real work. The question doesn't even matter as much. It matters because it's a question that will open up possibility for you. But the opening up of possibility for you, that's the truth. And then your ability to trust in your own truth and then take action from that. That's the work, okay? The questions are more important than the answers if you think they're coming from like an expert. Your investigation of your own answers is what matters. Okay. You'll sometimes hear me say, this is the work. That's what I mean by this is the work. It's this process of you doing this internal work by yourself. You're actually on a journey with yourself. I'm just showing up to help, support you through that journey. And then make sure you don't go left, because you're going to want to go left. You're going to want to quit. For sure, you're going to want to quit. It's much easier if I told you, oh, I have the answers. Let me just give you the 5 ways to make $1 million this year. Your brain likes that. Trust me that you're going to want that. But I'm going to tell you, but that's not the way it is. There is no, these are the 5 ways exactly for you to reach $1 million. There's the work. We got to be in it, in the dance of it, right? And I call it the work, guys, but it's also fun and has to do with trusting yourself and being in the joy. Okay, we're going to move to our next thing, and then I'm going to give you guys a break, and we're going to do a process before we go to lunch. Let me remove my pin and go to sharing the screen again. Okay, you've gained some clarity. You have a goal, hopefully, that is time-bound. You walked it through who you need to be and be, do, have. And you have some do's now, correct? Okay, excellent. Here are some things I want you to know about clarity, because you're here to gain some clarity, right? Number 1, clarity comes from taking action. I know there's a big part of your brain that tells you, oh, I got to be clear first, and then I move. You have to have some idea of where you're headed. It's helpful to have some idea of where you're headed. Like, I'd like you to know, like, I'm going to the East Coast versus, I'm going to the South. But where on the East Coast? What exactly, what state, how it's going to look? We just start moving. We start moving, and in that moving, you discover, oh, this is working better than this. Oh, I thought this would work, but this actually didn't work. Oh, this is actually, starting to click. In that process of what I call getting in the water, sometimes you'll hear me say, let's get in the water. In the process of getting in the water is when you actually learn how to swim, right? So I know your brain, parts of your brain are telling you, but I got to know how to swim before I get in the water. That might even be what attracted you to coming into this space, is I need to know the information before I jump in, because I don't want to feel fear, doubt, insecurity, pain, failure, right? That. Those are part of the human experience. Those are part of the learnings that happen as you get in the water. That's how you learn to tread water, is by like, okay, I don't want to drown. Maybe you feel a little bit of fear, and then you learn to tread the water, right? Clarity comes from taking action, okay? Getting in the water and actually swimming. And part of what we're gonna discuss at the end of today is how I can help you with that. Because I actually have containers where we take action, where you feel the fear and you get in the water anyways. And then we celebrate you when you realize, oh, I didn't drown. Yeah, you didn't drown. Yay. And even if it feels like you drowned emotionally or psychologically, we support you through that. and then you get back in the water. Because if you really want to learn to swim, it's going to require you to get in the water. It's not going to require you to read a book about which bathing suit you should be wearing, which is what a lot of you are doing. Please stop buying books and courses. You don't need more information. Who cares what bathing suit you're wearing? If you really want to reach the goal, let's get in, right? Your bathing suit is like your website, or like, it's like the physical thing that looks out in the world. Yes, it matters. I mean, you have to have a bathing suit that works, okay? But what's more important, I can teach you to swim in shorts and a t-shirt. The learning of it, the getting in the water, the feeling the fear and doing the thing anyways, right? Like Brenda actually calling these agencies, that's important. That's the getting in the water. Okay, power of your intuition. We're going to start talking about how intuition can serve as your guide for clarity. We have this amazing connection to our body through intuition. And some of us are using it, some of us aren't. A lot of leaders use it, but don't know how to explain it. They just make quick decisions. That's really what we do as executives, as leaders, is we make quick decisions and lean in towards our own like knowledge and experience. Oftentimes, intuition is a big part of that. So how do you connect with your intuition? Do you currently connect with your intuition? How are you consistently connecting with your intuition? This is a big part of what are we going to do together. Let's talk a little bit about intuition. The power of intuition, how it fits into everything else that we're doing. Where does our intuition come from? And how do you connect to it, right? So many of you raised your hand and said, yeah, I can feel my intuition. I can feel it. Let's define it first. How do you define intuition? Who would like to share? What is your definition of your intuition? What do you guys think it is? Yes, Miss Areli.
Personally, I define intuition as an innate knowing. It's that little voice. It's that even gentle and calm, because sometimes you can confuse fear, that anxiety, for overthinking, when really intuition is calm. It's that knowing. It's that when someone says something, kind of like when you share truths about being and whatnot and how to step into it, I'm sure everyone has felt that, no, yeah, I'm not being who I need to be to achieve that thing that I really want to do, right? So that.
Love that, Areli. Oh my God, that made me feel so happy because I didn't have to look up how to define intuition. You just said the exact definition I would have said, which is it's an inner knowing and it shows up as calm. So it's a little different, right? It doesn't show up as like, go, 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 or crazy, 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 right? It shows up as what I call centeredness. There's a grounded feeling, a centeredness feeling, and just an inner knowing. It's like your truth. Yeah, that you can feel deeply inside. Yeah. Does anybody else have another definition or another way of describing intuition that you want to share with the group?
I go with the gut feeling.
Yes. Omaida, yes. Gut feeling, yes. Gut intuition, right? Gut instinct, right? People will say you trust your gut, right? This is something else that science has showed us, or neuroscience has shown us, that we used to think the brain was the smartest part of our body or organ, whatever. And now science is proving that it's actually in our gut, that there's more neuron connections in our gut than there is in our brain. What, right? That deep knowing actually comes from the gut more so than what's happening in the brain. So, and somebody can look up one of these studies and please post it and share it with us, because there's so many studies that will show, right, that there's something happening in the gut that's more profound and powerful oftentimes than the brain is. So we're learning more and more. Yes, Manuela.
Wendy, you know that I'm really obsessed with intuition. So when I was researching this for a workshop I created around intuitive leadership, something that came up, just Adeli alluded to, which I just want to name, is the difference between being in a state of survival and thinking that that feeling is intuition, and actually being in a regulated state. A lot of us as Latinas, we have gone through trauma, experienced a lot, and that has naturally created these feelings in us that allow us to be very intuitive and knowing and having to be very on alert constantly so we can protect ourselves. And those feelings are deeply important, but that's not necessarily intuition. To what Wendy you're saying, it's like if you're still acting from that place of survival, if you haven't had an opportunity to learn how to regulate yourself, regulate and heal, part of that experience, that it's important to know, like, where am I in my relationship to my body? So then when that message is coming through, you know that it's really, from what Wendy was saying, a place that's calm, regulated, and supportive to you. Or is it that, like, that survival instinct that it's still trying to protect you? Not one or the other is bad. It's just important to recognize that so we don't continue to get led by fear.
100% yes to that. Yes, the distinction between regulating your nervous system, what Manuela is just talking about. Let's give Manuela a huge round of applause. Manuela is also a coach in inspired action for the Tuesday pod. We just want to recognize her for the amazing gifts that you bring, Manuela. Yes, regulated nervous system versus deregulated nervous system. We're going to start talking about calmness now, the second C that we're clarity and calmness. And we're actually going to do a process that will support us with that. Yes, Michelle, what would you like to share?
Well, I like to express what intuition means to me, and hopefully we can relate. So to me, I had a problem of like not understanding intuition because I would doubt myself. But now that we're speaking up on the topic, I feel like it's making more sense to me what intuition is by just all the help that I've been gaining throughout my life. So I feel like intuition would be like operating like in a higher conscious of mind of doing the right thing, you know, knowing from right and wrong, and just basically also having that self-respect in what works and what doesn't. So to me, like intuition would be just kind of just like being more aware and self-consciously aware of your behavior, your decision making, what you're going to say, and always operating in a love frequency or more calm. I feel like that would be the intuition. Or also intuition can be breaking down into different type of factors, because it's just like, then it's like fear, and then it's like I don't know, what do you think?
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that, Michelle, because I think a lot of us get intuition confused with, similar to what Manuela was talking about, being in this survival mode of like, oh, okay, I want to protect myself because I've been hurt before. So I want to make sure I always do the right thing so that I prevent there from being pain, failure, doubt, insecurity, right? Yeah. What intuition allows us to do is find an inner safety in us where we have an inability to be harmed. There's actually a place in you that is never harmed, that is incapable of being harmed. You might not have known that. Survivor mode tells us I got to protect myself from being harmed all the time. Intuition is tied to who you are really. And who you are really is not the pieces of the puzzle, right? Or the game. It's this other thing connected to source, connected to the quantum field. We can call it quantum field or whatever you want to call it in that loop, whatever your name is for it. I call it source. So we're going to call it source for this training. Source and connection to source. That's where your intuition lives. And so, yes, some of what you said about like making aligned decisions, right? You said making right decisions. So you got to look at how you're defining right for yourself, because there's right, like I don't want to be hurt, and there's right and wrong. Right and wrong are pieces on the puzzle. They're pieces on the game. People, what somebody interprets as right, somebody else might interpret as wrong. You have to decide for yourself what is in alignment with your values, right? And then that's what's right for you. So am I choosing from alignment? That might be a slightly different way to ask, am I making the right choices? Because right sounds like a judgment, right? There's right choices, wrong choices. There's right choices for you. So what is aligned to you and your value? What are the aligned choices I'm making? Am I choosing from my intuition? Am I checking in even with what is my intuition telling me, right? How often am I asking it? What do you feel? And then this other question, Michelle, that I think that you also alluded to is, where am I choosing from? Where am I making the choices from? Am I making it from survival? Survival is the game. It's the board and the pieces on the board. All of the circumstances. And then there's who you are really, which cannot be harmed, which is always available to you. It's bigger than all the circumstances. It's bigger than, you know, where we live, the car, the relationships we're in. It's even bigger than our titles, than the names we give ourselves. Mother, daughter, friend, sister, wife. That. We can call it, since we talked about quantum physics today, we can call it the quantum field. Who am I in the quantum field? Yeah, so intuition is tied to that. That's why it's harder to explain. And when we say the inner knowing, that's what we mean. This inner knowing versus the survival of, I just don't want to get hurt. The pieces on the board. When you learn this game, another way to explain it, guys, is the vertical and the horizontal, which I often talk about, right? The horizontal is the human experience of, oh, but I got to pay my bills tomorrow, Wendy. And the vertical is the source energy. You know, those moments when it feels like time stands still. Raise your hand if you had that experience where like time is like, what happened? Or the out of body that Shonda explained a little while earlier, right? When she said, I see my grandson and I just have this like, yeah, that lives here, right? It's not time bound. It's not based on, oftentimes love lives here. These amazing feelings of the vertical is the depth of our experience. And this is the horizontal. Chances are your goal is where? Where's your goal that you came in with for Q2? It's in the horizontal. That's why people hire coaches, because they want to make more money. They want to, right, get a new job. They want to be established. They want to, whatever, build a new career, buy the next car, right. And what you're coming in here to experience and what we're really activating, what we're going to do right now is this. Because if you learn the rules of this game, it's different rules, just like this is physical physics, classical physics, and this is quantum physics, okay? Different rules. If you learn the rules to this game, so much opens up for you. Freedom. You can also win this game, but you care less about this game. You start to realize, oh, it's not really about the money. It's not really about the business. It's not even about the awards or the acclimates or how many followers I have. None of that really matters. This is the real game. Yeah, so much opens up for you.
Wendy, I had a question, but isn't intuition as well, like knowing that it was going to happen before it happened, or what is that?
Yeah, intuition can be like this feeling of like, oh, this is meant for me, or this is in my, yes, connection to source energy. Yeah, you can know that too, absolutely. That feeling that lives here in the vertical is what I mean, yeah, in the vertical, even if something's going to transpire in the horizontal. In fact, that's what Be Do Have tells us. So Be Do Have tells us you can be in the way of being of your goal right now without having your goal happen. Right? Let's say your have, or here, Michelle, give us a have, because we're going to get into the next step, which is calm. What is your have? What is your goal that you have for Q2, or what the goal you're working with in this training? Michelle, if you could share it with us.
My goal,
Goal.
just to be busy booked with clients, helping my clients to get the results they need.
Okay, so I'm going to give you some feedback, Michelle. Not clear enough. That is not a goal. Your goal has to be time bound, right? And it has to have a number. So, and also, we all do this. So this isn't just Michelle, this is all of us. We use a word like just. Oh, it's just to affect all my clients. What does the word just do when we add it to the front of a goal? It minimizes. It minimizes the value of that goal, right? Oh, it's just to, and we all do this. And how you verbalize your goal is really important. Transformation happens in languaging, and managing our brain is important, right? So a way we could shift that goal, Michelle, is to make it just a little bit more specific. I just used the word just, I noticed. I do it too, see? I do it all the time. Specifically, impact 20 clients by helping them XYZ, right? Hit a particular goal. So now we have a number of like, I'm going to impact 20 clients, Q2, by hitting this number or whatever the number is specifically. Do you have another goal that is more time bound, Michelle, or specific or measurable? Measurable.
I would like to gain about 15 new clients in a week.
Perfect. Thank you. That's a goal. Yes. 15 new clients by June 30th. Let's just put, I'll just add a number. 15 new clients by June 30th that affect, I think that's in 8 weeks. That's measurable and time bound, right? Yes. That. So you can start being, in your way of being, the person who's already created that. Picture yourself having 15 new clients by June 30th. Describe her, Michelle. Describe her in her way of being. Who is she? Who is the version of you that brought in 15 new clients in 8 weeks? 15 brand new clients to your business in 8 weeks.
Just working together as a team with my marketing assistants and just networking, promoting, just being busy and happy. I don't know.
Yeah, I love you so much, Michelle, because you're so great at like being willing to do this work, right? So I want you to notice where her brain went, right? Which is where the majority of our brain goes. It's like, oh, doing the networking, doing the marketing, even the working with the team sounded like a do, like working with the team. And at the end, she said being joyful, did you say, or happy, or being, yeah. Being in joy, was that it?
Yeah, being happy while I'm doing it, yes.
Yes, being happy while I'm doing it, yeah, yeah. So that last part was a way of being, right? That is connected to the doing of the marketing and the managing of your team. Yeah, yeah. Happy is a tricky word because happy, there are moments of happiness and we can be happy, but there are better words that explain more the feeling behind what is happiness. What do you think is the feeling you need to be in, or the feeling that would support you if you were in this feeling tonality while you're doing the marketing and the managing of your team and the staying focused? What do you think is the feeling that would really support you, Michelle?
Being confident and knowing my goal, like knowing my worth. Yes.
Yeah, even just being confident. Even just being confident. So one thing I want you to work on, and this is for all of us, but for you specifically, Michelle, is constraint in language. Just say one word. The reason I want you to focus on less words is because I want you to be more in your body and less in your brain. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So be confident. Yes, you could be confident now, right? In fact, we're going to do an exercise when you can be confident. You can be confident now. You don't have to wait to have the 15 clients come in to feel the confidence. I'm going to prove it to you in a second. This is the beauty of being work. Let's say Michelle's goal was to like have $1 million, or one of your goals is to have $1 million. That's a result, right? You could start being in your way of being like a millionaire right now. And then do the things that millionaires do and have $1 million, right? What are some ways of being of a millionaire right now? What are some, like when you look at a millionaire, characteristics that you notice? What are their thoughts? What are their beliefs? What's the energy they're in? What's the feeling that they're in? Anybody? You could put it in the chat. A feeling that they're in or a belief that they have. Intention with their time. So they're intentional with where they put their time. Yep. And who they share their energy with. Yep. Every second is an opportunity to learn, to earn, learn, or make moves. Oh, I love that, Paloma. Yes. Yes. Right. So they're confident, they're driven, they're abundant. They believe the universe is working for me. Yes. Beautiful. You can choose that right now. Nothing's stopping you from tapping into confident, driven, abundant right now. Just even those 3 words, right? It's a state of being, which you control. Now, I'm going to teach you a way to change your state of being, because you might be like, Wendy, I don't feel confident right now. How do I find confidence, right? Okay. Let me give you a little bit of a whole picture, and then we're going to go into our next process. And it's not going to take that long. So maybe our break is going to be at 12:30, guys. Sorry. We were just talking about clarity, right? Go back to sharing my screen. Okay. The reason I'm summarizing clarity with this slide is I want you to get 2 things. 1, clarity comes from taking action. 2, your intuition is part of all of this. Your intuition helps guide your clarity. It also helps you to create the next C, which is finding calm. This is what Manuela was talking about when she said, oh, it depends on if you're asking a regulated nervous system or a non-regulated nervous system, what their intuition is. If you're finding a hard time with tapping into your intuition, it has something to do with regulating your nervous system, feeling calm and centeredness. So let's move to centeredness. We talked about clarity. Raise your hand if you feel like you got some clarity this morning with your goal. Like we wrote down, be, do, have. You went into what are the thoughts I need to think, beliefs I need to think. Awesome. You're on your way to being more clear, right? There's clarity. You probably wrote down some do's also. And we're going to do something with those do's later. Beautiful. Second C, calm. Regulating your nervous system. Absolutely required to hit any goal. 100% required to hit any goal. Let me give you a simple reason why. Is your goal something new that you've never achieved? Give me a thumbs up if your goal is something new that you've never achieved. Yes. Almost always, 90% of the time, people are like, oh yeah, I've never done it before. That's why it's a goal. That's why I don't know. Hit it. Blah, blah, blah. Some people are like, oh no, I hit this goal 3 years ago. I just want to re-hit it again. But most of the time, right, we're in, and even if you're like, I hit this goal 3 years ago, it's a different market now. It's a different way to like get your mission out into the world now than it was 3 years ago or 2 years ago, right? Yeah. So you're going to go do some new things. What do you think happens to your nervous system when you step out of what you already know, which is called our comfort zone, and you go do something new? What happens to your nervous system or your brain? Your brain is a big part of the nervous system. I know it's not the only part, but let's just call it your brain. What happens in your brain? Yes, Paloma, what were you just doing? You want to share with us? What happens in the brain?
Warning signs come up.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Warning signs come up of like, oh, hold on, we're leaving the nest. The nest is our comfort box. Everything we've known, everything we've achieved, all the rules, all the ways. And I mean, the comfort zone is just do more stuff and you'll be okay. And yet we know that the answer is not in the doing, or we would have hit the goals already. And also a lot of the doing leads to overwhelm, exhaustion, breakdown, right? We can't just keep doing more. It's not working harder is the answer. I kind of know that. But we're going to that edge, what I call your growth edge, the edge of your comfort box. Yeah, your nervous system is like red flag, red flag, red flag. So you absolutely need to learn how to regulate it and calm your nervous system on a regular basis, okay? One of the ways we calm our nervous system is by slowing our body down, getting fully present to the moment. And then we can actually use our body to bring up emotions. So I'm going to teach you an exercise. We're going to practice. Some of you may already know this exercise. I call it the remember the feeling exercise. We practiced it. We practiced in the mastermind for sure. And I think in Inspired Action. It's a really powerful process that I came up with about 8 years ago or so, because I was like, damn it, I just want to tap into confident Wendy or patient Wendy or loving Wendy when I need her, right? How do I choose my feeling, bring up my feeling, and then actually become that version of me in my way of being? So I want you to think about your goal. We're going to do this process right now. So make sure there's no distraction and you're in a quiet place, or go to a quiet place, and hopefully no distractions. Like you don't want a kid running in the middle of this. You want to be able to give yourself, the space. You also want your feet to be firmly planted on the ground, like touching the ground. This is a groundedness exercise. So you can feel your feet on the ground. It's powerful to be able to do that. Okay. I want you to think about your goal, the goal that we're using for this, okay? I want you to think about your goal, your time-bound and number measurable goal that you have, that we're using for this process. What is the feeling that you want this goal, achievement of this goal, to activate in you? What is the feeling that you want this goal to activate in you? That's the feeling I want you to choose for this exercise. Okay? All right. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. I'm going to invite us all to take a deep breath in for 4, and then breathe out for 4. Let's breathe in again. And breathe out for 4. Let's breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this time, breathe out with a sigh for 4. Now put your hand on your heart and your other hand on your belly button, holding in your core. We're going to breathe in again together. And breathe out. Now I want you to bring that feeling to the forefront of your mind. I want you to bring that feeling to the place between your eyes. And ask yourself, when is the last time I felt that feeling? Keep breathing in. Breathe out. I want you to remember the most recent time or a recent time when you felt that feeling. Maybe the last time you felt it was years ago. That's okay. I want you to bring yourself back to that moment when you felt that feeling. Where were you? What is around you? What are you wearing? What do you see? Who are you with? Are you with anyone? What are you experiencing? What do you feel? Are there any colors you see? Is there anything you smell? Is there anything you hear? What is the feeling in your body? If you feel the feeling in one particular place in your body, please put your hands on that place. You feel the feeling in one particular place in your body. Please put your hands in that place where you feel the feeling. And let's all take a deep breath in. Breathe out. Deep breath in. Breathe out. And allow yourself to fully feel that feeling. Look around. Take in that moment. Take in this moment. And allow the feeling to cover you up from your head all the way down your shoulders, down through your chest, down into your belly, down through your hips, down through your legs, through your knees, and down to your feet. Feel the tingling of this feeling in your feet. Okay, let's take a deep breath in. Breathe out. Another deep breath in. Breathe out. One more deep breath in. And breathe out. Okay, when you feel ready, bring yourself back to the room. Feel your feet firmly planted on the ground. And start to gently open your eyes and come back into the space. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Woo! That is how easily and available the feeling is. Always. It's just right there. One of the ways we can tap into it is through an experience of it, a memory of it. So when was the last time I felt whatever it was, right? Yeah. Who wants to share what their feeling was and what they experienced when you asked yourself, when did I feel that? Who wants to share what opened up for them in the feeling of remembering it, remembering the feeling? Who hasn't shared? Olga, Paloma. Oh, Omaida, you could share, yeah. Omaida, you want to share? What was the
Um,
feeling? Yeah.
I think it was more confirmation, right? The accomplishment feeling. So I think one of the biggest things that comes up for me is, I think somebody mentioned it, knowing when you've had enough training, the knowledge, and so forth. So when those moments of doubt, I think of, well, hey, I made it. I graduated. I accomplished my MBA. So having in that space of accomplishment, feeling that no matter what, through a pandemic and everything, I still made it. And so the moments of doubts, that's where I remind myself, if I got it done, even through the pandemic, I didn't take a break, then hey, I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it.
What's the feeling you had again?
Accomplishment.
Accomplishment. So
That
feeling
I'm in
accomplished.
I think when you mentioned at the beginning is the fact of feeling like, well, I don't have enough training. I don't have this. Always like having an excuse and knowing like, oh no, I did. I checked off all the boxes already. I've had the training. I have the knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. I have the training. I have the knowledge. Yeah. Which, oh, BS, by the way, but yes. I mean, we don't need more training. We don't need more. I mean, I understand that our world is designed where you can't just be a doctor. You need to go to medical school or whatever. But you know how many doctors I coach that are like miserable being doctors? So it's not, it's not the training, right? The training isn't the thing. It's our interpretation, our belief about the training. Training is going to make me an expert. Yeah. Yeah. So feeling accomplishment. Did you have a particular moment, Omaida? Like a particular moment of, did you
The
think of a
accomplishment?
particular moment?
Yes. So to me was the graduation.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that came like the emotion, and who was there is like, my mother, and now who's now my husband and my nephew. So three pillars in my life. So that's what it felt like. It was 3 generations: my mother, myself, and my nephew. So that's where it felt like the accomplishment. Like you're right. The training, it's como dijiste, it's all BS. But knowing that it is, like, hey, I'm there and I did it. Like there's no question, there's no doubt. They can't say, oh no, I checked off all the boxes.
Yes, Omaida. Yes, you checked off all the boxes. You do this. It's like that inner knowing. Yes, yes. Beautiful, beautiful. Congratulations. That was beautiful. Anybody else want to share their feeling? And what was the memory that opened it up for you, right? That brought it back to the surface. Really what we're doing is we're opening a door that has this like experience where we had the inner knowing during that moment of like, oh, this is who I am. And then it went back in the box and now we open it back up. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else want to share? What was their memory or what opened up for them? Yeah, Brenda. Yeah.
I'm like, I'll share if nobody else wants to or they're feeling shy. For me, the feeling was like kind of like Omaida was saying, was like, I've done it before, I can do it again. It's just tapping into that. Like I've done it before, I'll do it again. For me, the moment that came up was I'm starting to train for a half marathon. Well, I've been training for a half marathon. So the first time that I ran like the first like halfway mark, which was like 6.2 miles, that feeling of like I did it. It's in the bag, even though my brain was telling me otherwise halfway through, where I was just like, you've never done this before. What are you thinking? Like, why'd you sign up? All of these feelings were coming up. But once I finished all of those miles, I was like, I did it. I did it, and I'm gonna do it again. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And what does that say about you? What's the belief that's being built in the I did it feeling?
I think it's more getting rid of it's more of the belief that even though my brain wants to tell me you can't do something, I always do it anyways. So it's the belief of like, stop fighting with yourself. You're going to do it anyways.
Yeah. You're going to do it anyways. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. Yes. And that's always available to you. Yes, Brenda, congratulations. Brenda, Omaida, congratulations. So here's what I want you to take with this feeling. First of all, you wouldn't have had access to this feeling without calming yourself down, without centering yourself. So we can't dive deeply without stillness. That alone might be the most difficult part of this whole training for you guys. You have to find moments of stillness. That is also where your intuition lives. in the stillness. It's not an intuitive hit when there's like a million things coming at you and you've got like, woo, right? You're not even energetically open to an intuitive question. Like, unless you can meditate in the middle of chaos, which some people can, but that takes practice, right? That takes practice over time. Yeah. But once you start accessing it, it's like an inner world that opens up for you that really is available anywhere. So the importance of stillness, first of all, is centeredness of like, and you can just use your breath and close your eyes. That's it. For me, it also helps to put my hand over my heart, my hand over my belly button or kind of core area. And then I just take a deep breath and I'm centered. Oh yeah, this is who I really am. Not this craziness I'm seeing happen outside of the world. And from there, then I take action, right? Then I take effect. The other thing that I want you to take away from this is that all of this is available for you. Any feeling. So the feelings we heard about today is like accomplished, I can do this, confidence, but you can do the same process with any feeling. So what are some other feelings that are helpful for us that we sometimes have to tap into? That isn't necessarily confidence and go for it. I mean, that's one feeling. Yes, we're going to talk more about confidence this afternoon. And those are important. But yes, Manuela, safety, feeling safe in your body, finding a feeling of wholeness, or feeling a sense of, I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah. Finding a place where you felt that. And sometimes when we ask the question, when's the last time I felt that? I mean, I did this process once with somebody and they were like, when I was 4 years old, was the last time I felt safe. I haven't felt it since. Or, I mean, there are some times where I haven't felt that. Okay, what's another feeling, right? Because we can keep opening doors. Yeah. I oftentimes use this to tap into patient Wendy. When was the last time I was patient? Right? And it's when my kids were little. When they're little, you gotta have a lot of patience. It's just like telling them to do something, you wait. And then tell them to do it again, you wait. Like the amount of patience, right? I built a patient muscle. So going back to those moments, remember the feeling. And then there's patient Wendy comes to the surface. Loving Wendy, kind, compassionate. These are all other versions of me that don't always have to be like CEO Wendy or leader Wendy, right? There are moments when I need her too, but you know, it's interesting. I need her less. I need more of the soft Wendy to come forward more, right? That I tap into. So which version of you do you need for which situations, for what you're up to? Which version of you is needed for your goal? Sometimes it's different versions depending on what part of the journey you're on with your goal, right? There's a version of us, a feeling we need at the beginning to get it off the ground. But then once you've been working with your goal for a little while and maybe you've hit some walls, sometimes it's a different feeling that we need to bring forth. So this remember the feeling. The reason it's powerful is 1, it requires stillness and centeredness for you to do it. 2, you can evoke any version of you, any feeling. So it's literally the being part of choosing a feeling. Like you pick an apple off a tree. I'm going to be loving. It's the last time I really felt loving or an experience of love, right? And bring it back up in the body. It only works if you feel the feeling in your body. It's a somatic experience. So just notice when I asked if you're feeling it in your body in a particular place, as you put your hands on that place, notice if you didn't feel it anywhere in the body. That just gives you information. There's no right or wrong. And there's just information of like, oh, am I feeling it in the body? Or am I here in my brain trying to find it? What's the feeling, right? Trying to still like solve the puzzle for my brain versus just dropping into my body and figuring out where do I feel it in my body. The last part of why this is powerful is it's always accessible to you. It doesn't require a book, a journal, an altar, a sound bath. It doesn't require anything. You don't need anything outside of you. You could be in the car, hopefully not driving. Don't do it while you're driving, but pulled over. And you could just decide, okay, I'm going to connect with, right? You could do it right before you walk into a job interview. or right before a sales call, or right before a meeting with your boss, or whatever. You can just tap into whatever version of you want to bring forth. All those versions of us are alive in us right now. And it helps us bring clarity. It helps us tap into our intuition, and it helps us bring calmness. Okay, that was a simple exercise. You're welcome. You can have it for the rest of your life. The key is to practice it. I mean, here's this amazing tool. You got to practice it. So we're going to talk about, later today, we're going to talk about inspired action and the mastermind, because none of this works unless you're using it on a regular basis. There is a practice component to this where it is part of your life, integrated into your life. That's transformation. It's not the knowing. It's not even the experience of it. The experience is powerful. And I love the experience. I love it. This is why I'm doing this. I'm doing this today so I can have fun with you guys. Like, this experience is always powerful. The experience is not enough. It's the integration of that into your day-to-day life, which requires a container, some accountability, a coach to support you. Because it's hard. I still have a coach. I've had a coach for 18 years. And by myself, I will go left again. I will go back to left, meaning going back to, oh, life is happening to me, but don't you see all the horribleness that's happening around me? What the hell, right? That mindset, because that's what we're set to in default setting. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a homework assignment to do during your break. We're going to go into break. I'm going to give you some powerful questions to use to tap into your intuition. Yes, so for those of you that were like, I don't know if I'm tapped into my intuition or not, or I don't know how to tap into my intuition, this is a series of questions that will support you in tapping into your intuition. Let me go back to my little screen here. Okay, how to find calm and centeredness, remember the feeling exercise. What we just did was the remember the feeling exercise. And remember that you can do it with any feeling, okay? Any feeling. Let's talk about creating clarity and calm by doing this intuition exercise. So I'm going to give you guys 40-minute break. So it's almost 12:40. So we're going to come back together at 1:15. Yeah, is that 45 minutes? 45 minutes, whatever that is. I don't even know what that is. But at 1:15, be back in this room at 1:15, please. And then we're going to go from 1:15 to 3, right? If you are enjoying this, stay till the end, because at the end, I want to coach you. Like, I want to hear, what is your actual goal? What are the things that you wrote on the be, do, have, like your way of being? And what are the do's? And we're going to do work with the do's also, with the action steps. I want you to start to realize that there's 100 different action steps you could take so that you feel expansive in the strategy part of reaching your goal. This intuition exercise, I want you to answer these 4 questions, but you need to go to a quiet space with your journal and answer these questions. Here are the questions. And you can do this, during your, obviously right now during your lunch. So I would suggest like you eat first and then go write these questions and go to a quiet place. If you have a backyard or you can be in nature, that would be even more connected to source energy. And you're going to answer these questions. What does my heart want? What does my heart really want? What is my body trying to tell me? And just sit in the question. If I listen to my body, what is it telling me? Okay. What would I need to let go of to reach this goal? And this goal is the goal we're working together with in this training. So your Q2 goal, or whatever your goal is, right? With the time bound. And what would life look like if I didn't have any fear around reaching this goal? What would life look like if I didn't have any fear around reaching this goal? The way you answer these questions, the answers to these questions come from dropping into your heart. So step 1 in answering these questions is quiet space. You can do the same breathing exercise we just did for remember the feeling. You can do hand on heart and hand on belly. Anything that's going to help you drop into your body. When you feel dropped into your body, then you're going to answer these questions. What is my heart really want? Another thing that I find helpful when we're doing this out of our brain, not connected to our nervous system, but connected to a regulated heartbeat, is to not think too much, to free write, right? Just allow whatever comes up to flow. So if you start, sometimes I'll write sentences that don't really make sense, like bits of words versus full sentences. Allow whatever comes up to flow. Also, sometimes we'll get visuals like animals or pictures or colors or a drawing of something that comes to us. Draw it, put it out there, write out, capture whatever's coming to you, through the flow, right? If it's a drawing, if it's the name of something, whatever is intuitively coming to you. The series of questions, what this does is it just helps open up space, and you actually are speaking as if you were speaking to your body, as if you were speaking to your heart, and it's telling you, right, what it really wants.